September 15th, 2015, a woman known as CB mistook what she thought was a line of cocaine and snorted a staggering 550 times the typical recreational dose of LSD. Soon after, she reportedly overdosed. 55 milligrams of pure powdered LSD. The typical recreational dose is around 100 micrograms, which is equivalent to 0.1 milligrams. CB had ingested this using a route of administration that is much faster than oral ingestion, meaning that this drug would kick in much faster and hit much harder. According to a roommate present at the time, CB blacked out and vomited frequently for the next 12 hours. She sat still in a chair, her eyes either wide open or rolled back into her head. She would occasionally speak random words, but the roommate could gauge no meaning behind it. 12 hours later, she was able to hold a conversation and seemed coherent. She was still vomiting, but this became less frequent until it stopped. This event is significant because in her early 20s, CB had contracted Lyme disease, which significantly damaged her feet and ankles, causing her intense pain, which she was medicating with morphine. After this experience, the pain in her foot ceased, and she was able to stop using morphine for 5 days. The pain did return, but she was able to control it with lower doses of morphine and a microdose of LSD every 3 days. After 2 years of this experimental treatment of her own design, she stopped both LSD and morphine and reported no withdrawal from either, although she did state she experienced an increase in anxiety, depression, and social withdrawal. There is no definitive proof of what helped her recover, but morphine is understood quite well in comparison to LSD, and there was only one new variable in this equation. LSD, aka acid, whatever you want to call it, these words both refer to the substance lysergic acid diethylmide, a powerful and controversial psychedelic substance. To some, a potential silver bullet to the mental health crisis, and to others, an unpredictable and potentially dangerous drug. For the context of this video, we will be exploring the phenomena of what is medically classified as an LSD overdose, its risks, how it may be misclassified, and possible positive side effects in certain isolated cases. Before I go any further, I feel the need to give some context. First of all, do not attempt to overdose on acid, you absolute fucking lunatics. These case studies represent a side of the drug that has only ever been shown using inaccurate fear tactics or a stance that downplays the possible harms. This video does not intend to take a stance on any of this, but simply aims to present information sourced from the Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs. You make your own judgments. That's not my job. There is no known toxic dose for LSD. The common consensus, even medically, is that no one has ever taken enough LSD to die. Most times, when people die from this substance, it's because they either received a research chemical masquerading as acid, or they did something stupid that led to their demise. Keep in mind, just because there is no known toxic dose for LSD, that does not mean one doesn't exist. This brings us to our next case. A 15-year-old, diagnosed with bipolar disorder, overdosed on 10 times the typical dose of LSD at a party in June 2000. This girl, known as AV, suffered from depression and hallucinations since the age of 12. Her condition was severe, and at times had put her in a hospital, including once after she bit her mother. Her overdose happened due to an error in the supplier of the acid. This individual made a rounding error when preparing LSD-laced water cups, making them 1,000 micrograms per glass instead of 100. AV drank one entire glass and leftover drops from 2 others. Partygoers reported that she behaved erratically for the next 6.5 hours, followed by what they believed to be a seizure, as she was lying in a fetal position, with her arms and fists clenched tightly against her body. The authorities were called, and by the time the ambulance arrived 10 minutes later, she was, quote, alert and oriented. Her father visited her in the hospital the next day, and AV told him, quote, it's over. He thought his daughter was referring to her LSD experience, but she clarified that she meant she thought her bipolar disorder was cured, and she, quote, felt able to experience life with a normal brain. She didn't report another instance of mental illness for 13 years, until she gave birth and experienced postpartum depression, the case study said. Medical professionals stressed that these cases were unique. Of course, tripping also has its own inherent psychological risks, as when used irresponsibly, psychedelic drugs have been reported to exacerbate mental illness. However, it appears that psychedelics can also potentially mediate some of these problems when used correctly. These were not cases of quote-unquote bad trips, but instead were referring to physiological overdoses. An LSD overdose has been characterized with symptoms such as intense vomiting bouts, loss of consciousness, tremors, shakes, jerky motions, and trouble breathing. To my knowledge, and from my research, there has never been a confirmed recorded death attributed solely to an LSD overdose. The keywords here do happen to be confirmed and recorded, as there are many rumors, but these rumors come from biased sources. Scientists have estimated that a lethal dose in humans would be around 1400 micrograms, but have very little evidence to base that on. Another clue that we don't understand the toxicology of LSD at all was the case study of one NM. She was given a 500 microgram dose, which is notably higher than the typical recreational dose. She reported no vomiting or seizure and did not pass out. Even though this was the case, the journal still reported it as an overdose. What exactly is an LSD overdose if it doesn't have any of the symptoms of an overdose? Is it just a high dose? It seems like the definition isn't so clear, even for actual academic journals. When morning came, she sobered up and was able to recollect the night easily. The case is notable because she soon found out at the time of dosing that she was 2 weeks pregnant. The journal stated that the LSD did not negatively affect her pregnancy, and she gave birth to a healthy boy who is now 18 and by all measures living a regular healthy life. So, what does this all mean? The drug might not work exactly the way we think it does, and because of the restrictions placed on research, we are only beginning to fully understand its effects on human physiology. From a related article, no clinical trial research could be done with dosages this high. There are no publications exploring the outcomes of very large doses of LSD. To understand the effects of extremely high dosages of psychedelics such as LSD, an examination of overdoses in a naturalistic setting is required. If no one has ever died from it, can we really call these cases overdoses? I certainly don't think we can call the last one an overdose. Even in the medical community, it seems that they cannot agree on what an LSD overdose is, and what it isn't. If you like this video and want to see more like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with all notifications enabled, and watch all my other stuff. Shout out the inner circle. Love y'all.